There's been a change of plan.
I didn't know there was a plan.
So my wife and I have a bit of a dilemma that we need to solve, and in this video I'm going to tell you how we're going to do that. So let's go and talk about it. Well, let's talk about this particular dilemma that we're in. We've actually come full circle and we're now planning to live on a boat. I need to be near water, always do, for the majority of our time whilst travelling around in the caravan, visiting France, maybe eventually buying a property in France, but not going for the full visa. Funny enough, originally the channel was set up, and hence the name of the channel, Casting Off, was boating related because that was our original plan. So I'm going to talk you through how that plan works. So when we've looked into boating before, we've looked at narrow boats and canal boats. When doing the research, a narrow boat, I'm 6'2", I don't want to be too cramped. And also the problem we've got is a narrow boat or a canal boat, unless you're prepared to move them every couple of weeks, you have to move them a certain amount down the canal. You're going to have extortionate fees to moor them, especially under a residential mooring. And they can vary from anything from a couple of thousand a year up to 18,000 a year I've seen in some places. That's more in like London docks and stuff. So we're going to compromise a little bit on space, but what we're looking at is, and where we're looking at mooring is, in a tidal river. And if we keep the boat to 10 metres or less in length, rather than, which is about 32 feet, rather than a 67 foot or 70 or 80 foot canal boat or barge or narrow boat. Keeping it down to 10 metres just means that the mooring fees are going to be so much less. And so we're going to base the budget on a residential mooring of £4,000 a year, which is realistic for that kind of size boat. Now residential moorings are very hard to come by. The majority of people that live on boats full time live on leisure moorings. And then what they do is they either pay to have an address provider, or they use like a family UK address. We could do either of those. So that's probably what we'll be doing, because we won't actually be necessarily living there. We won't need our post to go there, but we don't want to pay council tax, and we don't want to pay the really high fees of residential mooring. It just means that it's not as secure. You can be evicted from a leisure mooring if you upset the place that you're at and that sort of thing. Whereas you have certain protections if you're on a residential mooring. But we can live with that. So what we're looking at is a motor cruiser. Going to be probably, we'll go for the max 10 metres, maybe on 2 or 3 levels, so that there's separate compartments and separate areas, lots of storage space, or as much storage space as we can get. That's going to be the plan going forward. Now, I'm really excited. My wife is very excited as well. She does like the boating. She likes any areas where there's water, seaside, rivers, lakes. We both always love that. And the beauty of this is that we can potentially stay really local. So she can be with her family. We can be with the kids. We can be nearby the kids and not have to worry about back and forth across borders and things like that. But we can still keep the caravan. So we're going to get a tow car. So the tow car will come. The budget for the tow car is about 12 grand. We're going to take that out of my 25%. We're going to store the caravan down at our boat club for next to nothing because we're already members. We're going to then buy a boat. We're going to budget for the boat is around 40 grand max. Now, our budget for the house in France was about 50 grand max, plus I allowed 20 grand for doing it up, filling it with stuff and everything else. Well, if we get a boat I struggle to find boats of what we want for 40 grand. Most of them are 30 to 35 or less. And we won't need to do a great deal with it. I'll make sure that the engine's working, especially if we pick it up from Portsmouth or Norfolk, from the Broads area, that sort of thing. It'll be a seagoing vessel. As long as the engine's right, that'll be a great adventure in itself, just motoring it around the coast to where we want to go. So I really look forward to that. That'll take some planning, but that will be great. And then we can take it up to the appropriate river that we're going to be mooring on. We've got some moorings in mind. We can definitely pull this off. So yeah, a little bit more complicated, but I've done boating before. I've stayed extensively on a boat before, my own boat, before I sold it, but it wasn't big enough for the two of us. So I'm just going to move out of the sun because it's really warm down here today. So I actually came down the beach today to try out my foot. If you've been watching before, you know that I've had some problems with my foot and my ankle. So I thought I'd give it a try. I've been resting it up and doing some physio on it. And it's worked out really well, actually. I've been able to walk down the beach, no problem at all. So it just means I can get out and about, which has been really good. That's what I needed, really. Spending all the time at home and in the caravan and everything else. So I've also had a bit too much time off work, so I can get back to what I was doing before, which is really good. So boating wise, I know that there'll be comments about, oh, it's terribly cold in the boat in winter and all this sort of thing. There's a thing called a diesel heater, which the boats I'm looking at will have all rigged out. You'll also have an electric hookup, and so I can use like oil radiators and that kind of thing. But also the plan is, once we've got the tow vehicle, we don't have to spend the winter in the UK. We can go abroad, and you've got up to 90 days to spend in Europe. So there's nothing stopping us spending the winter months down the south of France to an area where we know. In an area where we know, and spend a lot of time, over the years down there. So we could do that. Factor that into the budget. The great thing is where if we can get the kind of boat we want for about 35, max 40 grand, I'll have even more put in the bank to generate income, which just means it makes our life a whole lot easier. It really does. So going forward, of course, this whole channel is all about casting off the shackles of working monthly or working most of the month just to pay the bills, which is what we're doing at the moment. That's why we need to get rid of the house and the mortgage. People talk about renting. Oh, why didn't you rent your house out? No, it's not an option, because that's only delaying the inevitable. Unless I won the lottery. If I won the lottery, then I would probably pay off the house, do up the house and stay in it. I'd probably just do that, and then obviously live off the income invested. But that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I don't even do the lottery, so it's definitely not going to happen. But what we can do is we can take this opportunity right now and run with it and enjoy our lives. Now, I know there'll be comments as well from the usual trolls. Oh, do you want to be 80 in your 80s on a boat? Yeah, could be. I know quite a lot of people well into their 80s, even 90s, who live on a boat down near my boat club. So not a problem if you're used to it. Some people have done it all their lives. And, I've been around water and been on the water in boats and that sort of thing all my life, ever since I was a kid. I grew up near the sea, very near the sea, literally on it, so I don't have a problem with that. So yeah, we get the best of both worlds. We get a bit of a base, plus we get to be largely nomadic. Well, not largely, we somewhat nomadic, and have some adventure. Boating is an adventure in itself. Taking the caravan abroad is an adventure in itself. All of that. And the great thing is when our pensions do kick in, if we've got that more money in the bank, more money in the SIP, earning income, invested right, we'll then have all of that money left over at the end of the day, so that when we are older, if we want to, we can then rent a property in the UK or even buy a property. Probably unlikely we'd buy, but we'd certainly be able to afford to rent with 2 pensions coming in and still a large amount of money left in the bank, which is what my budget shows we would have. Yeah, so we can't not do this adventure. We really can't. And as I said, the goal has always been to find a home after we've sold our house. And, the option in France was, sounded idyllic. There's a lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of bureaucracy to get through, a lot of red tape to get through. Although we were totally prepared to do that, it turns out that when me and my wife have had a real head-to-head, she would have been potentially deeply unhappy abroad, or that in a different country, non-English speaking. Even though we both speak the language okay, she's got a lot of connections in the UK, her running club and writing club and things like that. So this way we get the best of both worlds. And I get to have a working boat that we can even take out into the sea now and again. Yeah, there'll be expenses. We'll, maintenance expenses, things like engine services and stuff like that. We'll have all of that budgeted in. The great thing is my boat club where I'm at, we've got experts who can completely overhaul the type of diesel engines that I will make sure that I have in the boat. So servicing ain't going to be an issue, and it's not going to be anywhere near as costly as it would be if I was to not know anything about it or put it into a service centre. So I think that will be the final plan, unless, as I say, we suddenly come into a massive windfall of some sort, which is highly unlikely. So that going forward, obviously I'll be going through a new budget, talking about that. I've already talked about my investments. I'm not going to talk about finances going forward too much, just because the finance videos seem to attract most trolls, and I'm not all about that really. I mean, this is the whole channel really is about documenting, our own journey to some kind of adventure, and that's what this is going to turn into. Is my hope, and I know there's a lot of people watching that are really rooting for us, and and you let me know every now and again. I really do appreciate that. So I'm absolutely sweltering here, so I'm going to head off home. But in the meantime, thank you to Defeffel Blog for your super thanks contribution. Thanks to the members on the channel for sticking with us, and thanks to everyone who's subscribed as well recently. Looks like the channel's picking up again, which I'm really, really pleased about. You know, I'm even getting personal emails and stuff telling me that, you know, these videos are resonating with people, and you know, I was just gobsmacked. I never expected anything like that at all. So it's great to hear. You know, it's great to hear that other people I'm not the only mad man thinking about doing something crazy like this. It's good to know there's other people out there that are kind of maybe in the same boat. Pardon the pun. I'm going to head back. If I think of anything else, I will re-record probably in the caravan. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching again, and I'll see you all soon.